What is your process of getting into character for a photograph, particularly one that that we're really going to be studying for an extended period of time?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question.
Where we're going, we don't need roads.
Mr. Brody, this is one of the best performances I think I've ever seen. So seriously, this is an honor. Thank you for taking the time.
Oh, I appreciate that. Nice to
Uh,
meet you, Jake.
Nice to meet you, man. I'm going to jump into this, and I got to tell you, I don't often start out interviews this way, but I would love to start out this conversation talking about your mother, who's, I believe, a Hungarian immigrant, fled Hungary in '56 during the revolution. I'd love to know what's the most important story she told you about her experience coming to America that helped you sort of shape who Laszlo is.
It's a lifetime of learning through her experience as not only an immigrant but also an artist and someone striving to leave behind a body of work that's of great meaning. And so a lot of that, her yearnings as an artist and her sensitivity to things and empathy and connection to others, I think, is partially due to her experiences in connection with loss and witnessing war and leaving behind a home and starting anew and witnessing the hardships on her parents. And so I think so much of that has informed her work, and that speaks to the journey that Laszlo is living through. And it was a profound connection to find a role that really speaks not only to something personal to my family history, but to many people in the United States who are the descendants of immigrants.
Mhm. It's a timeless story, which I think is why this is a movie we're going to be talking about for a very long time. Speaking of a long time, it's been 20 years since The Pianist, which is one of my all-time favorite movies. And obviously, I'd imagine an actor, you change a lot over 2 decades. You were a different person at a different point in your career. But these are both stories and roles that sort of bear the weight of responsibility. So I'm sort of curious, what is the most valuable lesson maybe that you learned on The Pianist that even 20 years later you found yourself pulling from and found that it was applicable on this film?
Well, the research that was required of me, first of all, to physically portray a man who was starving,
Mhm.
for instance, required a starvation diet, which I had to rapidly lose a great deal of weight, and that on many levels informed an understanding of need and helplessness and how it erodes at your self-esteem and sense of will and all of that. Just a simple thing shifting like that, an understanding, an awakening of the helplessness of so many people in this world who are hungry, and how I had somehow taken for granted that, and that really shaped not only my understanding of how to portray a man who's lived through these horrors then, and how the echoes of the past haunt the man that I play in a movie today, but how I move about in my daily existence and how I have come to appreciate many things on a level that I didn't have that understanding of. And I'm very grateful for that. And there is unfortunately so much loss and suffering in this world, and still is, obviously. And I think to be able to tell stories that remind us and open up the conversation and open up an awareness of solving problems and being inclusive and acknowledging the mistakes of the past and learning from them, and all of this is such a profound thing. So I'm very grateful to have found another film of such magnitude.
I love that, man. Do have a bit of a nerdy question, if you don't mind.
Sure, shoot.
There's a photo shown in this movie that's not only very important to the plot, but it serves as the image that we see during the film's intermission. And I'd love to know, as an actor, what is your process of getting into character for a photograph, particularly one that that we're really going to be studying for an extended period of time?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. I wish we had time to devote to giving it that much thought. I mean, they had to prep and have an idea of how we would distill that moment in time. But you know, this movie was made with very modest means, and we were back to back, back to back. I mean, we shot, as you know, quite a substantial film in a very short period of time. And, it's just about everybody has to constantly be present and stay focused and be, in a moment. But, we were living it. We were already in that space. I think we were working with elements that felt very rooted to that. So it was just a matter of capturing it, and it's quite beautiful. It's quite beautiful how it's also this epic thing of creating an intermission with this image that remains, and you can watch one chapter of the film dissipate and process that, and then come back, and this whole new chapter begins. And it's so rare. It's really fantastic.
I don't know if you know this, the studio sent out care packages and we all got a framed copy of the photo. I have it
amazing.
in my living room.
I didn't know that. That's great.
Mr. Brody, this junket really means a lot to me. This movie means a lot to me. And to be able to speak to you for this, I mean, this is why I do what I do. So truly, from the bottom of my heart, thank you very much for your time.
Hey, appreciate it. Thank you.
Pleasure, man. Take care. I'm going to jump into this. Mr. Pearce, I'm going to start with you. I've read a couple of interviews where Brady Corbet mentioned thinking about you when developing this part. And I've always wanted to know, like, what that means to an actor. When you look at this character and you know the man who created him was thinking of you as he was creating him, how do you interpret that? And what does that give you when you're trying to figure out who this guy is?
It's just a way of guilting you into doing the job. I reckon. He didn't really
It worked.
It worked. That's right. You kind of go, I can't say no now if he's told me that he was thinking of me when he wrote this. I wasn't sure if that was actually the case, but good to know. Good to know. I think, well, I mean, it's just a great sense of respect. And Brady's such a sort of delightful, easy person to be around that, developing the character or not even really developing him, but just making sure that I understood him was just a matter of having some good discussions with Brady along the way during shooting as well. So yeah, here we are.
I love that. Miss Jones, it's been a few weeks since I've seen the movie, but correct me, I believe you get the very first line of this entire story. And I know we don't really see you on camera until after the intermission, but you're still very much a character in this story for that first half. Your presence is still very much felt. And I'm sort of curious what sort of decisions as an actor you have to make for the chunks of movie that you're not in. Like, what are the most important decisions you had to make about this woman in the first half of the movie, even though we might not actually see her for that portion of the movie?
Well, as you say, so much of the first half of that film is building the anticipation of this person who we know Laszlo is dreaming about and thinking about, and it takes them 8 years to be reunited in the story. So the time it takes to meet her is matching how you feel as an audience member. You're waiting for her appearance. And so it definitely puts the pressure on when you finally appear. But as you say, I feel like Elizabeth is living in that first half. We hear her, we have those letters, we feel that strength of character from the first moment. And so much of it when she arrives is and so much of the screenplay did this. It doesn't tell you stuff, it's just straightforwardly. You have to intuit a lot of stuff as an audience member. And so you realize when you meet her the level of trauma that she has gone through, and you are able to really look forward to this reunion between her and Laszlo, and because you've really earned it.
It was so incredible, particularly coming after getting to see that image that they used for the intermission. I'm going to get you guys out of here on this, Mr. Pearce. Next year is the 25th anniversary of one of my all-time favorite movies, which is Memento, which, like The Brutalist, I'd imagine is a story that is greatly impacted by the director and the script itself. And I'd love to know, while they are wildly different films, if there are any commonalities and any similarities between your experience working on Memento with Christopher Nolan and your experience working with Brady on this film.
Well, I think the the similarity is just this is sort of enormous trust that you have in the director, because Brady and Chris obviously are both clearly unique and brilliant at what they do. I mean, you know, Chris has obviously had a sort of a longer career as a director now, and Brady's, you know, obviously made 2 or 3 or 4 films, but you know, I think he's really making a mark. And it's just that exciting feeling of working with a director who gets more out of you than you can come up with yourself. So I always find that to be my preferred way of working, so that I'm not just limited by my own little box of tricks, you know.
Fair enough. They're pulling me out of here. I've got 10,000 more questions, which is a sign that you guys just really, what this movie is genuinely special. And it was special to be able to be a part of this junket. I know you have a busy day, so I appreciate you fitting me in. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
Good to see you guys. Take care.
Where we're going, we don't need roads.